It is our quality time interview on Kansas Sports Chatter, an opportunity to spend a little extra time with our next guest, and that guest is Kylie Corneliusen, the head coach of the Mill Valley volleyball team. Hey, coach, appreciate your time. And for you, like this time of the year, I mean, it's got to be exciting, but what's kind of going through your mind at this time of the year as a volleyball coach?
Yeah, this is, what teams prepare for is the end of the season. And, I'm just hoping that my kids show up at the right time. And, you want to be playing your best volleyball at the end of the season. And we know what it takes to get there. And now we just have to execute.
You mentioned playing your best volleyball at this time of the year. Do you feel like you guys have been on that trend throughout the season? Obviously, the record speaks for itself, but do you feel like you've been on that trend?
Yeah, I think we had a few losses early in the season, and we tried really hard this year to schedule a tougher opponents. And I think that we've had a few bumps in the road, but it's about learning from it and going out and playing your best games at the end of the year.
Is that an easy thing to do, putting that schedule together? Like, what goes into putting that schedule? Obviously, you have some league opponents that make it a little bit easier, but the rest of that schedule, how is it? How easy is it trying to fill that out?
It's very stressful, and I think I overthink it a little bit. But yeah, we've struggled in the past couple of years, just filling the schedule. We have a huge league, which we're obviously grateful for, but we have a 14 team league, so that doesn't allow for a ton of games. But then we've had teams drop us or say that they're not going to play us the following year. So it is challenging, but I'm glad that we picked up the teams we did this year, in hopes that it helps prepare us for sub-state and the state tournament.
I want to go way back. I want to pick your brain on that match you played against Piper at the beginning of the season, the outdoor one, the outdoor event. How special is that, and how'd that come together?
Yeah, it was awesome. Talk about a stressful week. It was supposed to rain leading up the week before. And so, yeah, I had a couple parents reach out to me and say, "Hey, let's do this." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we spent a lot of time in the summer. We had sponsors, we had a ton of helpers, and it was a beautiful night, and we couldn't have asked for a better turnout.
Did you practice at all outdoors, like prior to the actual match?
No, we didn't because it rained the day before, so we weren't able to get out there. I had the kids come like right after school that day, and we kind of peppered and didn't do a whole lot. But no, there was no full practice before that. It was just we're going out and we're playing, and it was awesome. There were so many people there. I know the kids were a little nervous because it was totally new to them, but yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, did you have your same stomping lines like down the sideline? Did anything change like that for you as a coach?
I was trying really hard to, not worry about the things that nobody can control. Like, the weather, is the ball going to, bounce away, or is the net going to stay up? Like all of those things. But, once I saw the first serve, it gave me chills because it was such an awesome atmosphere.
You look at volleyball for you, coach. Has volleyball always been in your blood? I know you played in college for a couple of years, but has that always been your main focus sports wise?
Yeah, I think I come from a super sports driven family, but yeah, I've played all the sports growing up, and my brother is a sports information director at University of Arkansas, and just everybody, extended family included, it's all about sports. So I knew I wanted to, you know, take my passion of volleyball and do something with it. And yeah, now we're here.
Those 2 years you spent playing at Neosho County, I mean, what was that experience like for you, and what'd you learn in college?
It was awesome. It was probably the two hardest years of my life. Nobody prepares you for being in JUCO athletics, but it was awesome. I had amazing coaches, and I learned so much about the game. And the grind is different at the JUCO level, and so um, it was an awesome experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
What was the best road trip in the Jayhawk Conference?
Oh gosh. Well, our rival was Fort Scott up the road, so that was always fun. But yeah, we traveled so many places. I think the one that was the hardest was we went to Highland, which was really far from Neosho. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome, but definitely our trips to Fort Scott because of the rivalry.
After you're done playing at Neosho, like, did you know right away that you wanted to coach at that point, or when did that sink in?
Yeah, I stopped playing and I transferred to K-State, and I was kind of going crazy without, sports being part of my life. And I reached out to a bunch of people in Manhattan and I was like, hey, do you need any coaches? And then I interviewed at Manhattan High School. And at the time I was a junior in college. So it was kind of, looking back, it was kind of crazy that they hired a 21-year-old to come coach high school volleyball. But it was awesome. And I knew I wanted to be involved in athletics at some capacity in my life.
What was that experience like, being as a young coach? Like the learning curve for you, and like, did you reach out to anybody, or just how did you kind of get that, I guess, experience?
Yeah, I definitely reached out to my college coaches and just people that I knew. I got asked a lot, like, "Hey, we're ready for the coin flip. Like, where's your coach?" I'm like, "Well, I'm the coach." They're like, "No way!" And so, I got that a lot when I first started. But the kids there were great, and you know, I miss those kids in Manhattan. But yeah, it was an awesome experience, and I'm very blessed that I was given that opportunity at such a young age.
Now, in your fourth season as a head coach in Mill Valley, what were the expectations when you first arrived 4 years ago for Mill Valley, Coach?
Yeah, I had all of these, I wanted to do all, I had all these plans and, what I wanted to do with my own program. I didn't really know exactly, what kind of team that we would be. But I know that they had seen success in the previous years. And then, getting in there and having camp and really realizing like, hey, there are some talented kids in this gym. It just made me more excited for the job.
Well, yeah, they always talk about, how experience can pay dividends later on. And for you, like winning the last two state championships, how much do you think that prepares not only you, but even some of the players that have returned as well going into the postseason for volleyball this year?
Yeah, I think, for some of our kids and myself included, like having been there before, knowing what to expect. I know the first trip that we went, nobody knew anything. Like I didn't know, all the things that you don't know until you're there. And so I feel like having that in the back of, my head, and those of the kids that have been there, like they know what to expect. And I think that's huge because, experience is important, especially when you're in pressure situations.
Well, it seems like the student athletes at Mill Valley are well motivated just within themselves. But as a coach, when you talk about a season that starts, you probably had some contact with them during the summer, and then you guys get rolling in August, and then you go through September and October, and then the postseason pushes up to the month of November. Like, how do you keep a full season of motivation like throughout the year?
Yeah, it's hard, especially with our league. We play a lot of games, and I kind of tell them that at the beginning of the year, like the season is a grind, but you want to be at the end of the season and you don't want to have regrets. And I think you know from my standpoint, like trying to go into every day being the same and being consistent. That way, the kids know what they're getting from me, and just talking about it, like, hey, this week's going to be tough. We have 3 games or whatever it may be, and just kind of pushing them, but then congratulating them when that week is over, whatever the hard part of the season is. Just keeping them motivated and keeping it fresh.
Kylie Corneliusen joining us here, the head coach of the Mill Valley volleyball team. I mean, I'm sure you just love coaching in general, but like Mill Valley, I mean, you guys have produced, some really top-notch talents that have come through that program and now competing at the next level or going to be in the next couple of years.
Mhm.
As a coach, like, what's that experience like when you are coaching, some of those top-tier players?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people all the time, like, I'm blessed to be able to coach these, high level kids. And I try really, really hard to not take that for granted. And I don't want to be out there saying that I'm the reason that they're this successful, because I'm not. But yeah, it's been awesome, and like I said, just blessed to be in this position, because you know those type of kids don't come through the door every year. So just enjoying it with them, and letting them know that I'm grateful for the work that they've put into this program.
Then I guess piggybacking on that, how rewarding is it for you to see those players that have come through the Mill Valley program compete at the next level?
Yeah, it's awesome. Earlier this season, I have Caitlin Burke. She was an outside force a couple years ago, and she's playing at Loyola. And I turned on ESPN, and there she was, and it was so cool. I videoed the game and sent it to a bunch of people, and it's just awesome to see them, not only get to that level but have success at that high level is just it's incredible.
What's the intensity level like at this time of the year when you go into the postseason? Not only regional, sub-state, or then you eventually get to the state championship if you're lucky enough. Like, what's that intensity like at this time of the year for volleyball?
Oh, it's crazy. And I will tell anyone, this area of the state is the best. Like, the best volleyball is being played in Kansas City, and on the Missouri side. And so it's very intense, because you've got to put your best foot forward every day. And that's something that we've talked about this year is, we have to go into games expecting that we're getting their best game that they've played all year, because of the success in the past. So yeah, it's a whole nother level of intensity for sure.
All right, last question for you, Coach. In my intense research for this interview, I found an article that said if you weren't going to go into teaching or coaching, that you were thinking about being a sideline reporter for ESPN. So, any truth to that? Then obviously this coaching has worked out pretty well for you. But if it doesn't, in the future, would you get back to ESPN?
That's so funny. Yeah, that was my dream job growing up. I wanted to be Holly Rowe or Erin Andrews. But yeah, I never, I didn't go that route. But yeah, like I said, I love, anything sports. And yes, there is truth to that. I'm sure I said that somewhere, that was my dream job, but it didn't pan out.
All right, well, we'll get a game for you. We'll get you reporting, okay?
Okay.
Coach, hey, appreciate the time, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Kylie Corneliusen, the head coach of the Mill Valley volleyball team, with our quality time interview.